when you're in a space like Altspace, for instance, and you're married, and women, there are some women who don't care about your relationship status. They look at it as, I'm going to come at you whether you married or not. I'm going to be inappropriate. But my position on things is always like, if you say something or do something with a woman that you wouldn't do if your wife was standing there, then you shouldn't be doing it at all. What's your position on that? You know, there's a lot of people who have work wives and work husbands, even in the real world. And in Altspace, we are emotional human beings. You meet someone, all you know is what you hear coming out of an avatar. But at what point do you cross the line when you're a married man and you allow a woman who you know nothing about to become intimate with you? You're spending time with her on here, but you got a whole wife and kids over there.
Um, you just have to maintain some self-control. And what I mean by healthy flirtation is I'm a man. I'm still a man. Even though I'm married, I'm not blind. See a beautiful woman, she's a beautiful woman. For instance, if I'm out and a beautiful woman is walking towards me, I see her beauty within that frame. But as she passes
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm not going to look to see what the rest of her looks like. Because at that point, I think I'm being disrespectful. But if she's coming my way, I'm not blind. And whatever energy that I have, I take that energy home. So it spices it
Mm-hmm.
up in the relationship. And when you've been together, not that it gets
Mm-hmm.
boring or anything, but when you've been with someone for so long, you always want to bring something in to spice it up, whether it's maybe wear the fishnets tonight or let's go get a toy or whatever the case is. But you know, you just have to keep everything in perspective and control yourself.
Right.
I've always had women say little things to me that I can't say to them. It was very inappropriate. So I just deal with it. And I mean, in the way I like it, my wife knows I like it. I've been this way since we met in 1994. So I
Okay.
just stay
Okay.
cool and know my place.
Okay. All right. Big fella, how do you answer that question? What do you do if you're in a situation like that? I mean, you and I have been out at restaurants and I'm like, that little girl flirting with you, she do not know I will jump across all these tables in here. Like, you know, we've had it happen. And men kill me, right? Because men are oblivious. Men be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Who flirting with me? She'll be standing right there in your face and be like, what you mean? So big fella, how do you answer that question?
I mean, for like you just said, if they're flirts, depending on the situation, I might not even notice it because I'm not even focused on them. So whatever they might be
Mm.
saying or doing doesn't mean anything to me. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
they could say whatever they want. To me, it's like, for instance, we were out and a waitress was flirting with me. I didn't even realize it. I'm just trying to get a drink
Right.
from the bar. You know what I mean? So I'm paying no mind most of the time, or, might say, that's not appropriate or a step or just walk away. That's the biggest thing to do is just turn around. If you don't give it no energy, then they'll stop.
Mm-hmm. But is it
Right.
hard, for instance, where there's something that feeds a male ego, and you're married, you love your wife, but then there's an attractive woman who has an interest in you. She likes how you talk, she likes how you dress. If you fly, she like how you moving. Sometimes that is appealing if you're beefing at home with your wife, and even if you're not beefing, it's kind of like you've been married for so long and someone is looking at you in a way that's desirable. Is that a real thing for men? Krim, if you want to start with that.
I would say yes. I mean, everybody likes to be flattered and complimented. And I would be lying if I said that a beautiful woman paying attention to me is not something that I would like. However, at the end of the day, I got a beautiful woman at home. So
Hmm.
while I might laugh
Mm,
and accept that compliment, that's about as far as we can go, or else I'm
I
overstepping.
like it. I like it. Moshe, if you wanted to add something to that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. But one thing that I've come to learn is that no matter how beautiful a woman can be, beauty fades.
Hmm.
So I have a beautiful wife,
Right.
but I also know that we're going to grow old together. So her personality and who she is,
Right.
that's what I'm most attracted to. Sex, that's even going to fade at some point. But what do we have beyond that? That's what I hold
Right.
on to in my marriage,
Hmm.
those core values of what she brings to me. My wife knows social security. She knows everything about me. So I'm like, that's
Right.
beautiful,
Hmm.
but I can't even remember stuff about me. But those are the most important things beyond looks because, like I
Right.
said, that beauty's going to fade, but you're still beautiful
Mm.
inside, and your soul, your spirit is everything I need. So,
Let me ask you
Right.
guys a question. And I know that our listeners out there, our female listeners, may give me some slack about this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it because I believe a woman can raise a child on her own without question. But I also believe that a male child needs a father figure. And that may not be his actual
Absolutely.
father, that may be an uncle, that may be a friend at the community center who's male. How does a young man learn how to be a man if he doesn't have a male figure of some kind to guide him as it relates to love and emotions? And either one of you can jump in on this.
He doesn't. He struggles.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you don't have a man in your life, a woman, a woman can definitely raise a male child without question, but they can't teach him to be a man. You know, so you need another man to teach you how to be a man. You know, and sometimes, like you said, that's people in the community center. You know, it might be your sports coach and things like that. But they're the only one that can teach you. So you learn from them. You know, especially if they're setting good examples, because there's no way to learn that stuff from a woman because they're just different. So you find sometimes, and that's not always, but a lot of times with little boys, when they're raised by only women, they pick up the female traits because that's what they're around, and it's not their fault. You know what I mean? It's just what they've been. That's all they know. So sometimes it takes a male figure, whether it be an uncle, you know, a cousin, a coach, or whatever, to instill some of those things in them to help them become a man as they get older.
Friend, would you like
agree
to
with that.
elaborate on that?
Absolutely. I got a good example of that also. Like, you can get a puppy, and you can raise a puppy, but you can't teach a puppy to be a dog because you don't have the same kind of emotional set and things that a dog has to go through. They're going to experience the world different than a human do. It's the same thing with a little boy growing up in the world. He's going to see things differently than a woman would see them. And I think a lot of the problems that we have interacting as black males in our communities come from not having a male around you to show you how to deal with emotions in the way that men do. See, we have testosterone that make us a little bit aggressive. So if you're like a real sensitive type dude, you know, you're going to be flying off the handle a lot, and there's going to be a lot of fighting going on, whether you know, it's something that's serious or even like stupid stuff like stepping on somebody's foot or something like that, or what you're looking at. These kind of things go on a lot in our communities because we don't have that kind of male energy that we're learning from and how to deal with each other. And a male in your life, a strong, well-adjusted male who understands himself and what it means to be a man and dealing with other men, can bring up a young boy and teach him how to deal with that without having to go to this emotional flying off the handle crap that we do a lot.
I think a lot of times, and that's a good point, Krim, and I think a lot of times that our generation is basically reinventing ourselves, right? Because a lot of times we know family members who maybe your mom didn't get married, maybe your father, you don't even know who he is, and that's definitely not the case in all black families. Is the narrative that they put out there that we don't get married, we don't stay committed, because we do. But I think that our society today gives a lot of credit to people just being out here and not building family, and we have to take the responsibility to build our families back. And that doesn't mean we always gonna get it right, but we have to make an effort. We have to build our black men up. I mean, I know, for instance, so you're a father, right? So how do you instill these kind of values into your son?
Well, it was interesting because my father was never around. So actually, it was a hindrance, but it was also a head start because all I had to know was whatever my father didn't do with me is what I'm going to do with my son. So we developed that relationship and that bond. But some of the things I told him is that you don't have to be cool. You don't have to follow what's going on with everybody. You don't have to be trendy. And some of those things stuck. But then there's some other things, like as a black man, we might not want to mention, but watch your credit, stay out of problems with the police, and finish school and go on to further education. And my son got a full ride to one of the top 5 colleges in the U.S. And I don't want to take full credit for it because he did the work.
Right.
But my son grew up not knowing anybody in the neighborhood. All of his friends were from prep school and from school. So he just grew up a certain way. But the main thing was that I was there. I think that gave me a jump start. Just being there. That's so important. Being there in your son's life.
No
So
doubt.
I'm going to shift. I'm going to shift the conversation, and I think that's before I do that, I want to say so that's commendable. I think a lot of times we focus on materialistic things like how much can I give, when a lot of times kids just want you to be there. They want to get on your nerves. They want to say "ma" or "dad" 20,000 times and want nothing. They just want you to be
Right.
present. They really want you to be present. Moshef, I'm gonna shift to you. When it comes to marriage, and you've been married the longest on this stage, I'm going to ask you, how have your needs changed over the years from when you first got married to now?
I think I'm a simple man, but I've not been perfect. So I had to discover myself within the marriage. And the beautiful thing about that is that my wife had the patience to stand by me while I discovered myself, lost myself, and rediscovered myself. So she's been the
Mm,
backbone for all my needs. And then I had to learn that at some point, when she gets tired, I have to be her backbone as well, be her guidance and everything she needs to, so she doesn't break down and then she feels like she's all alone. Um, because as men, we can be selfish and we can lose ourselves and not realize um, how big of a role we play within the family. Um, oh gosh, well, all I can say is she's been there, and at some point, whereas I'm the head of the household, but I haven't always been the leader. So I had to learn to step back,
mm,
let her lead, because she's my helpmate. So let her lead, let her take us to that place, and I'm going to catch up. We're going to meet right where we need to be, and we're going to fix whatever problem is there. We're going to make it happen, and that's been great. And as if I could, if Brother Soul says that his son has only friends in prep school, I always talk to my wife because of my background. I say, I wish I never had the friends I had. I wish I stayed to myself because they were no
mm.
good for me. I honestly shouldn't be sitting here right now because of the past life that I lived and the friends I had. But God is a blessing, and the angel
Mm.
He sent was my wife, so I can totally identify with his son and how he feels. So he was there the whole time. I think it's so beautiful when he said that. I just felt it in my heart there.
That
Thanks.
that is
Thank you.
beautiful, and thank you for your transparency, Moshe. We really appreciate that. Just being honest and candid in a way that we obviously get the safe space to do without being saying you're soft or you got to be
Oh,
hard all the time. I'm going to ask big
Right.
fella the same question. How, you and I have been married the shortest period of time, but come the end of the summer, we've been together for 13 years. And how have your needs changed from when we first met till now?
Well, I mean, we all grow. We grow within ourselves. We grow in our relationships. My needs have changed, and that's just because I've changed as an individual. But the key is, communication. So as long as you're communicating with each other, you change as a couple as well. So
Mm-hmm.
if you can talk about it, as long as especially for us, especially we were friends beforehand. So
Right.
us being friends and being able to talk. We rarely argue. We might argue sometimes, but it's not often in all these years. It's once in a while, and we don't stay mad for real long, because it comes about communication. There are times where we might not communicate well, but that's any relationship. Every relationship takes work, and you're in it for the long haul. So,
Krim, I'll ask you the same
Right.
questions. What have you noticed in your marriage? How have your needs changed over the years? And you and your wife were
Well,
friends first too, right?
yeah, we were friends for like a year and a half before we started dating. And
Mm-hmm.
no thanks to me because I was trying to do the deed, but she put she put me in the parking lot. Hey, I'm being real.
You be honest. Just be
Because
honest.
of course, there was the initial attraction, and becoming more secure in the relationship over the years has made it a less, I guess, less need for confirmation of the relationship, if you know what I mean.
That's so important.
So
You know, like
now
what
we
it is
chill.
doesn't, it's what is doesn't need to be defined, right?
Exactly. What's understood don't need to be said. You know, and we still
Mm,
do. You know what I mean? We sit around and I'll tell her she's beautiful. I'll tell her she love her out the blue. Like, we try to make every day Valentine's Day. We don't celebrate Valentine's Day, but
I know.
we celebrate each other every day that we together. You know, she's still my best friend today. So it's like the need for that confirmation has gone away, but it still happens. We still confirm for each other, and we still, you know, hug on each other and love on each other, just like we newlyweds a lot of times. But then there's times when we can just sit around and trip, or even be in the same room and not even, you know, talk to each other. Like I'll be in my Quest and she's playing the Sims or something, but just knowing that she's
Right.
there and I'm here, you know, that's good for us.
Like you can smack her on the booty when you go in the kitchen, you know, that kind of stuff.
All the time, all the time.
Not
Don't
just the
start
So,
it. Even
kitchen.
with my
so,
Quest on, I don't even need to see it. Even with
hey,
the
this
Quest
a
on, I know
family
where it's
show.
at.
Don't go too deep. So let me ask you a question. And I'll start it off with you, big fella. Is being vulnerable difficult at times, even in the midst of your spouse? Because as a man, the man is supposed to be the king of the castle. Like the man doesn't really show emotion, and so we've been told. But is it difficult to be vulnerable even in front of your wife?
I think if you can't be vulnerable with your wife, who can you be vulnerable with? I mean, you
No, I'm
know,
not
as a
saying you
man,
can't, but is it
yeah,
difficult?
I don't want to say it's difficult. I mean, as a man, you try to hold it back. If you have emotions, you know, you try to keep it to yourself and all that stuff or whatever. But you know, as you said before about the man being the head of the house, I might be the head of the house, but you run the house. So I'm just, you know what I mean? So
Hey, y'all heard it here. Droppin Jewelz Radio. Jewelz run the house. Ain't no surprise
you know what I mean? So that's just the way it is. But
there. Run
being
this show too.
vulnerable, I think being
Nah,
vulnerable,
but seriously.
I think I can definitely be vulnerable with you. There are times where I might not want to, but sometimes you just need to. You know, if you break down for
Right.
whatever reason, you know, to have someone there to be able to help you or help get you through that moment or time or whatever the issue might be is a great thing to have, you know. So no matter how much you hold it in, you don't want to hold it in for too much because it becomes this big explosion of things or whatever. And it might not even be related to what's going on at the time. It's just you've held on to so much for so long that one little thing sends you over the edge. And I was like, yo, why all of a sudden I'm this angry or I want to cry about something? It's like, for what? When if we just spoke about it and let you know beforehand, it wouldn't be such a big deal. But I don't really think it's as a man, it can be difficult. But once you're married, you know, you should be able to open up even more than you have been because now you're supposed to be one unit. You know, it's
Right.
you and her against the world, more or less. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to be vulnerable.
Thank you. Most Chef, same question for
Right.
you.
Uh, yeah, there are times where I need to break down because I'm used to being so strong. If we hear a noise, I'm the one who jumps up as the protector to grab whatever I need to grab to go check out the situation. But just like an armadillo, I have a shell. But if I don't curl
Right.
up, you know, underneath I'm soft. So sometimes I need that softness to show. I can't stay curled into a ball at all times. And those times when I'm able to relax or I break down, she's there. And I feel like it's just a beautiful thing, I can tell you. And if it were not for those moments, I would have so much tension. I would be stressed all the time. Now I don't break down and cry all the time, but when I need to, she's available